Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the second of the doubleheader this weekend. It is our United States Grand Prix preview. Thanks, everyone, for joining us again. Only Chris and Shaker are along to preview the United States Grand Prix for this week. Tyler is, what is he doing? Women's rugby tonight?
Rugby tonight, yes.
Yes. It's currently raining fairly heavily, too, so I'm sure he's having a good time.
Yeah, did you hear they're actually moving Halloween to Friday?
Yeah.
They've already done it in Quebec, and Ottawa's deciding... Oh, sorry, Montreal has already done it, and they're deciding in Ottawa if they're going to move it to Friday as well.
That's crazy. How do you have jurisdiction over Halloween?
Hey, man, when I was a kid, we went out in snowstorms.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, everybody's soft
I'm
nowadays.
not trying to say that, kids these days are little, butterflies, but
They
guys,
are. Come on. You're using a very nice
we
word
went out
for it.
snowstorms. Like, jackets underneath our costumes, just deal with it.
Yeah, nowadays they got to cancel school and all this shit.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. This is not a rant for this, but I just reminded me of it when you mentioned the rainstorm.
Well, yeah, it is funny because you bring it up because I heard that they're expecting 50 millimeters of rain overnight or whatever it is. And then I saw that I was like, they're going to move Halloween to Friday, which is November 1st. And I'm like, how do you move a holiday?
I don't get it.
It's Quebec though. They can do whatever they want.
I don't know why it has to be a move. Like, it's not like they would move Christmas. I mean, I guess you stay inside during Christmas anyways. Like, let me think of another holiday where you go outside.
There's nothing.
There's nothing, actually.
I guess that's the whole... I mean, Halloween's not really a holiday. It's just kind of more of a...
What about Remembrance Day, when they have all the festivities and stuff and everybody has to go outside for it?
Right, yeah, I guess that's another one.
That is also a bad example. I agree, but, it's the next one after. Not really a holiday either.
Well, you can't move it, though. Yeah. The whole point is that it's on the 31st of October.
Yeah, at 11 o'clock. Oh, sorry, you're still talking about Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
I had moved on.
Yeah, you're getting ahead of yourself. But it would just be saying, well, let's move it 15 days up while it's sunny and nice still.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it in July.
Yeah, let's just have it in August and the kids can go out in the summer.
Yeah, well, these kids, they're brought up too easily. You can't hit your kids anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
They didn't grow up like we did.
No, it's true. We were actually just talking about that today at work, how, I think we're one of the last generations to get, beatings from our parents. I mean, not great, but, just... Again, nothing against, no pros or cons against this argument. I have nothing against it or nothing for it. So
no, I hear you.
Very neutral about both of these.
Anyways, not what I decided to or expected to be talking about in our preview, but it's interesting news, and it'll kind of be like, I'm sure some of the F1 drivers will maybe be doing some costume stuff at the press conference and media day on Thursday, so that should be interesting. I think it's more of a North American thing. I'm not sure if they're doing it.
I believe so. I mean, I believe it started in Mexico for Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
But yes.
And then somebody had an idea to make money off of it. And
you make candy and everybody makes money.
Yeah. So now it's commercialized. But I don't think it's that, the commercial aspect of it, I don't think is as big as Europe or other parts of the world, like South America. Like, we just saw all the Day of the Dead costumes at the Mexican Grand Prix. But yeah, maybe let us know if we got European viewers out there, some South American viewers. What are you guys doing usually for Halloween in your area? We were trying to wear cowboy hats for this episode, but we couldn't get any.
I had one set up, and I just couldn't. Like, my buddy just never responded for me to pick it up. Like, I had it already. I have multiple plaid shirts, which I was going to wear. Like, I was good to go,
Well, I wanted to get, because I don't know if they still do them, but on the podium, they would give out the cowboy hats that said Pirelli 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, that'd be pretty
instead
cool.
of the traditional hats, so that was cool. But yeah, it wasn't, we were trying to, I guess, Americanize this episode, and didn't really work.
No, unfortunately, we're too Canadian.
Yeah, I think so. We'll keep that identity for now. But maybe we'll try and get some for our recap.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and reach out to my buddy again.
So this is, like I mentioned, the back-to-back quick turnaround after Mexico, and heading to one of the fan favorite tracks on the calendar. I think in terms of the new tracks that have been added since the last couple of years, it's the best one out of the new generation tracks. First race coming in 2012, and the United States have obviously had kind of a up and down relationship with F1. We've seen, United States Grand Prix that have been on the calendar consistently, and then they drop off. Obviously, we had the big controversy in 2005 in Indianapolis, which since then left a sour taste in the mouth of American F1 fans, but has since made a pretty triumphant return. And when I was talking with Chris Medlin last week, he said that the race director over at the Circuit of the Americas said that they're expecting their highest attendance since the return in 2012. A lot of that actually having to do with the Netflix series.
Makes sense. Actually, when we were at the Montreal Grand Prix, I met a few people that said they actually came to the Grand Prix because of the Netflix series, because it got them back into F1 or into F1. So
yeah, for sure, it did a lot of service, I think, for people in this neck of the woods, because it's not so popular and a lot of people are watching Netflix nowadays.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. And it's weird. I've actually heard a lot of people bring up that series, who are just racing fans, not just strictly F1 fans or car fans. So it's an interesting series, and I'm looking forward to season 2.
Yeah, same here. It's going to be really good. I think it's going to be even better than season 1, and season 1 was really good. And they're doing a lot of promotion this week in the U.S. Actually, currently, as we speak, we are recording this on Wednesday night. The F1 Hollywood Festival is going on down in Los Angeles, and you're probably going to see some highlights of that as you see it. And they're just doing some, show runs down there in LA, which is pretty cool. And they've done a couple of these around the world, and I think that this is just kind of another step in trying to get that second race in the U.S.
Yeah.
And LA's, it's a massive city, a lot of celebrities, a lot of famous people live there.
Yeah.
A lot of drivers like it. I saw Verstappen
for sure.
was holidaying there a couple months ago during the summer break.
Texas is a great place to go as well. And as well as California, a great place to visit. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I saw from F1 and, teams that were posting on social media. Like the one I saw today, I think they had Daniel Ricciardo, Valtteri Bottas, Alex Albon, and Max Verstappen. Like different, questions about movies, actors, and such like that.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, like who would play them as an actor. I think I like Daniel Ricciardo's response to who he would support, who he would be the best to support in a supporting role. He's like, yeah, if you're you're being a supporting actor, the actor also has to be really great. He has to be charming. He has to be good looking. A great actor. So most definitely Brad Pitt is who I would be supporting. And I'm like, of course.
He could do it himself.
Yeah, I think he could. I mentioned more than a few episodes before now of him doing that Infinity commercial in Montreal.
Oh, yeah, being Employee of the Month, right?
Yeah, and that was pretty well done. He was mostly playing a more, oh my God. I want to say Lewis Hamilton version of himself, but that's not the right way to do it. But yes, that's kind of the right way to put it. But yeah, and it was pretty well done. So, and the other one was, now that I mentioned Lewis Hamilton, is like, who do you think would make a really good actor, or who would do it really well in Hollywood? And everyone responded with Lewis Hamilton. And then one person, I think it was Alex Albon, he's like, we'll definitely see Lewis Hamilton as an actor after F1.
I think we will. And there's rumors floating around that he's looking into getting to that side of things. And he's sort of really the only driver that has kind of gone into the mainstream in not just sports media, but also other media as well over here. Because, you're talking about your friends at work or my colleagues at work or your group of friends. They're probably not going to know the names of Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, for sure.
Max Verstappen, let's say. They're not going to know those names. But Lewis Hamilton, you bring up and they're like, oh, yeah, he's an F1 driver.
Yeah, for sure.
And Lewis is kind of, he's gotten into that world, the fashion world, and he's got a lot of popular celebrity friends. So it brings a lot of attention to himself and then also the sport as well. So he's kind of broken into that mold. So I see that as, there were rumors, remember last year that he did a rap album?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that, yeah.
And there was that one song, I can't remember who the song was with, that people were saying was him on the song, but nobody could ever confirm it because it never got released.
Yeah.
But, he was working, I think, with Kanye West or something like that on a potential album.
Oh, he might have featured in God, so you never know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be as good as his driving, though, so maybe you should stick to that. But it's cool, and we see a lot of famous people attending this race in Austin, Texas, and Austin's a pretty cool place from what I hear from everybody. Yeah. So definitely on the calendar of events or races that we want to go to. So. And speaking of races in Miami, before we get into the Circuit of the Americas, we talked a little bit earlier in our previous episodes about the Miami Grand Prix, and they had come to an initial agreement to have the race around Hard Rock Stadium, but the problem with Miami right now, they're facing a lot of hurdles over a potential race.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of issues with the city of Miami and basically the residents in that area. As simple to explain it, they don't want to race in that area.
Miami has a lot going on if you think about it as a city on its own, not in just terms of sports, but just a lot of things in general. Huge port, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially now with that takeover of Dolphin Stadium, I mentioned to Chris Medlin as well that they moved the tennis tournament over there too.
Yeah.
So it was another big event that came to that area. So they've got a lot of things going on, but the residents and the locals in that area are pretty opposed to a race happening in the streets. And I think they just passed some legislation that would not allow basically cars to run as a race in that area.
Wow.
So that's why they're facing these big obstacles. So it's still very much up in the air, the Miami Grand Prix, even though they reached an agreement, I think, a couple weeks ago. There's absolutely no confirmation that it will actually be on the calendar in 2021.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't mind Circuit of the Americas. Not a bad circuit.
Yeah.
Would be nice to see another circuit in the Americas. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this last week, but I really want to go to Laguna Seca. So it'd be nice to see that track come back, or not come back. Has it been in the calendar before?
I don't think it's been an F1 race before, no.
Right, yeah. Okay.
We mentioned it returned for IndyCar.
Yeah.
And a lot of sports car racing is done there. I think it's a tremendous track.
Oh, for sure.
California has a lot of great tracks.
Yeah.
And this is the argument here, right? I think we've made this argument before that there's a ton of great F1 tracks if we're just focusing on the U.S.
Yeah.
that already exist that are designated racing circuits. I mean, we have Sonoma, for example.
Yeah.
Mid-Ohio, that's a great track. Watkins Glen, which F1 has raced her at many moons ago. So they've got tracks and the infrastructure that's there, but obviously Miami, like you mentioned, massive city. It's a big party city. Tons of money that to be made in Miami.
Yeah.
In Ohio, for example, or Watkins Glen, which I believe is in the New York State area. Not as how should we say glamorous.
No, it's one of the Midwest states, so it's a very open kind of area for the U.S. So it'd be a great place to hold the track. Do it very old school and NASCAR like, and have it in like the desert or something like that. That'd be cool to see.
Yeah, NASCAR does a ton of those where it's just in the middle of nowhere. And Circuit of the Americas is a little bit similar because obviously it was built not too long ago, so it is kind of in the outskirts of Austin, in the middle of area. But I mean, they've done races in downtown Long Beach, Phoenix. They had the car park race in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely interesting. I think that for us, because we live in this area, we only have one. If you count Mexico, we only have 2 races in the North American continent. Yeah. Mexico's a pretty long way away, and Austin, Texas is a little for us too.
3, Canada, Mexico.
Oh, sorry. Well, I meant in addition to Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, so 3 in total.
Sorry.
Correct.
Yes.
But in terms for us of races to actually be able to go to, it's really, really Montreal or not.
Yeah. I mean, the next closest I wouldn't even be Brazil, like South America. I think probably going to London would be closer for us.
Probably would be cheaper.
Yeah. I think that and have to go to a completely, across the ocean and everything to get to it. So it'd be nice to see something more in North and South America in general.
Yeah, I just don't know how much they're going to expand into it. Hearing the rumors that race schedule could bump up to as much as even 24, 25, there might be room then, but I think we're getting a little bit crazy at that point.
They're going to be racing like all year.
I know.
Like that's going to be like 12 out of 12 months of the year that they're going to be racing, from what it sounds like, if they do decide to do that. It's just, a lot more double headers.
It definitely will be. And as fans, like we always mention, we love races and we love more races, but you have to put yourself in the shoes of the people that are working behind the scenes. Yeah. And that's a little too much in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you think of other sports, they have almost 4 to 5 months off. Like soccer goes into break, mid-May if you're counting Champions League, and they're not back till mid-August. And then football, you could say the same thing. NBA, season's done in like April. Playoffs are still going on, so those players are getting a lot of breaks throughout. And they're playing 81, 82 games out of the year. So
I think there's a risk of having too much of a good thing as well. And as we know with Formula One, it's different than other sports because they have to start building next year's car pretty much as the season starts.
For sure.
So there really is no off time. I mean, because once the season's over, you're already pushing for the next season.
Yeah, exactly.
So they might get 1 or 2 weeks that are actually off away from the factory, but it's constant nonstop. So Yeah, and then the other part of that too is it's going to cost more money.
Mm-hmm.
Less of an advantage for the smaller teams. So it's all part of this whole 2020 discussion. That's actually the deadline will be reached by the time this episode comes out. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Of what happens with that. So getting back to this weekend in Austin, one of the interesting things that Haas F1 is doing, I think a lone bright spot for Haas nowadays, is Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean will be sampling a NASCAR Ford at the Circuit of the Americas.
Nice.
Yeah, so obviously the Haas partnership with Gene Haas, who obviously owns the NASCAR team, along with Tony Stewart. So Tony Stewart will also be there, and they're gonna take a sample of NASCAR driving down there.
Nice, that should be fun.
Yeah, like I said, it's not looking good for Haas heading into their home race.
Just remember, don't go right.
Don't go right.
One way to go.
I forgot. That's right. They only go left. There was a funny video at the Goodwood Festival of Speed where they do the hill climb and that little track. And the first corner or the first turn, I believe, is a right-hander. And they sent a NASCAR out and it crashed. And they're like, that's what happens when you throw a NASCAR out there when it's not a first left turn.
That's pretty good.
One thing I didn't know, and this relates to Indy cars as well, is that the steering column is actually angled to the left.
Oh, is it actually?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because when I played Project Cars for the first time, you can drive Indy cars on an oval, and then you go out of the pit lane and you keep the wheel straight, but the car is leaning to the left, so you have to counter steer to the right to keep that car straight.
That's actually really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know the exact technical explanation for it, but I believe the reason why is just to help the car go left because you're going left all the time. So to slightly angle it to the left makes sense.
I guess your entire body's also going to be shaping this way the entire time too, right? So
yeah,
kind of adjust it a little bit more. That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how the NASCAR will go around the track and how Kevin Magnussen will be able to drive it. He seems pretty racy, and he's tested some. He hasn't tested stock cars before, but he has done some sports car stuff before. So it's a good sponsor kind of event for Haas, and like I said, it'll probably be a good little way to cover up most likely what will be a tough weekend for them.
Yeah,
they've really been struggling. They've only got 2 points since the summer break, which is they've had an awful year.
Yeah,
not at all. So tough for the Haas boys, in my opinion, heading to this race. Another interesting thing that I haven't really heard talked about too much, but I was reading this on Pirelli's website, is that the drivers will get to sample the 2020 Pirelli soft tires during FP1 and FP2 only.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, but interesting, I haven't heard anything about it. I was just reading Pirelli's website, and it was thrown down at the bottom in additional notes.
It kind of plays like an interesting factor into them going into qualifying in the race because they're not going to have that race data that they're going to be using their actual tires for. They're only going to get FP3 to try it out.
Yeah, I believe it's optional, so I don't think that they have to do it. But I'm sure a couple teams or two, maybe some of the midfield teams will want to try it out, right?
Try it out.
But yeah, I just found that was interesting. I'm not sure if that they've done this before, but it would probably help the teams developing the cars for next year.
For sure, yeah. I mean, you can get more of the driver's input into what the tires are going to be like rather than just, getting a feel of the tire and taking a look at it,
Yeah, and tires were a big topic this year too, with getting them in the right window, and that was a big challenge for Pirelli for 2020. And another thing relating to Pirelli in 2020 is the FIA, they're planning to scrap the Q2 start tire rule.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, if you guys aren't familiar with it, the top 10 qualifiers going into Q3 have to start the race on what they set the fastest time within Q2.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw this obviously as a disadvantage in Mexico. Carlos Sainz, for example, who started on the soft tire versus the runners ahead of him that were on the medium. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be a good way to even out the field a little bit more, and it provides more strategic freedom. We might see more one-stops. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. That'd be an interesting strategy going into 2021 or 2020?
2020, so next season.
Yeah.
Not official yet, but they seem that they're going to agree to scrap the rule for next season, which is a good thing for me, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing before we get into the track stats and characteristics, obviously that Lewis Hamilton be able to clinch the title this weekend. Only needs 4 points. Well, I think, what did you say? He was 74 points.
74 points
in Mexico.
Yeah,
and then needed 78. So I think unless there's some sort of mechanical failure, we'll see Lewis clinch his 6th world title. He's clinched in 2015, did it at the Circuit of the Americas, so I'm sure that Austin was probably one of his preferable places to clinch the championship.
Or it rains really hard.
Yeah, that's another good point.
Yeah.
Austin's kind of a bit tricky. We can do a weather update a little bit later, but we've seen some typhoon-type weather in Austin, and we've seen it also really hot, really sunny like it was last year, but we've also seen a lot of rained-out free practice sessions, so the question is always weather in Austin, Texas, which you're just looking at it right now.
I am just looking it up just to be sure.
What do we got?
I think it looks like it might be sunny. It's still loading. I just got a quick glimpse of it here. So Sunday, it's partly cloudy.
Partly cloudy, okay. But no, not a real threat of rain, it seems.
No.
Oh, there you go.
So very unlikely now.
Okay. Yeah, it's good that it stays dry. I think just because I really like watching the cars and qualifying through the circuit. And as we get into talking about the track, as we mentioned off the top of the show, one of our favorite tracks as well. And you get a characteristics of a number of different circuits, Silverstone, Suzuka, with the S's in Suzuka, and obviously in Sector 3 in Silverstone as well, with the first sector here at the Circuit of the Americas. And it's got a good combination. You've got corners that require a lot of downforce, and then you've got some long straights that also require low drag and top speed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really interesting combination for the cars, for the drivers, and the engineers setting up the cars. So no threat of rain, so we don't have to worry about slippery track surfaces as well. We've seen track limits, of course, be a big topic of issue. The Verstopper made its debut here, I think, last year with that big curb.
Yes.
That stopped Max from overtaking Kimi a couple of years ago. But I really like this track, and you have overtaking opportunities. Obviously, the two DRS zones, one on the main straight and then one on the back straight between turn 11 and turn 12. So big opportunities for overtaking there. But if you're really brave, if the car's set up well, you could do some overtaking down into turn 3 as well. I probably wouldn't recommend trying to overtake in Sector 1 in the S's, but we saw last year Alonso crashed out after Lance Stroll hit him, so it's tight going through there in lap 1.
For sure.
So I don't know if they're going to add a third DRS zone. I highly doubt it, but we've been wrong before.
Mm-hmm.
They've usually added it after we've recorded this stuff. But it's a challenging circuit for brakes, for tires as well. Pirelli have ranged a tire stress around 3 out of 5 is what they ranged it. And they're bringing the C2 tires, the C3s, and the C4s for this race. The C2, the white sidewall, it is a step harder than it was last year. Mm-hmm. I know Tyler hates when I bring that up because he has no idea what it means.
Yeah.
We're not really sure what it means that it's harder, I guess, from a technical standpoint, that it would be more durable, but
I honestly have no idea. I have no.
I just remember he was so bothered by it.
We brought it up a few times, and he's been quite bothered by it. But I do agree with them. Like, what does that even mean? Like, why can't you I liked the soft, medium, hard, and then they had hyper soft, and what was the other one?
Ultra soft,
ultra softs, and ultra hards. So I that was easy to understand.
Yeah. And I know it was 7 different compounds, but when you went to a weekend, they only had 3 available. Yeah. So I found it personally easier just to understand that way.
Yeah,
than
for sure.
C2 and C3. And yeah, I think that being able to distinguish it too with the different colors on the white sidewall too was nice. But yeah, anyways. And speaking of the Ultra Soft, it was the winning strategy last year. It was a one-stop from Kimi Räikkönen. And great memories of this race.
For sure.
For I think all of the F1 fans. We remember Kimi winning his final F1 race last year.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great race.
It was one and only one, right? Did he win another one last year?
No, that was it.
That was it, yeah.
Yeah. Had the pole position in Monza, but couldn't convert it. But yeah, great memories. I think I'll probably go back and watch that race from last year again. Great battles with Lewis Hamilton. Great banter in the cool-down room. I wonder if he'll ask him the same thing.
You won the race, right? You won the championship, right?
No. It's like, what? I didn't know.
It's like, bro, you won. That was the only thing I had to win.
Yeah. He finished third, Hamilton did, right? Or second?
I think it was... Was it Verstappen in second?
I think it might have been Max in second.
I don't remember it.
Yeah. A long time ago anyways. But yeah, good stuff from Kimi. And... just going to take a look at the quick tire allocations. Slightly different from the top two teams here of Ferrari and Mercedes. Hamilton opting with 2 sets of the C2s, 3 of the C3s, and then 8 sets of the red softs versus, let's say, Charles Leclerc, who went a little bit different than Hamilton. He went for only 1 set of the C2s, 3 sets of the C3s, and then 9 sets of the softs. So similar to Mexico, where Ferrari only ended up with 1 set of the harder tires. Honestly, I'm thinking that the strategy will be similar to Mexico.
It's interesting that Bottas, Verstappen, and Albon are the only one that have decided to go with 4 sets of the mediums compared to every other driver.
I'm wondering if they're maybe going to lean toward a 2-stop.
Yeah.
Possibly. Try and go piggyback with the soft. We saw it last week in Mexico where Pirelli thought that a 2-stop was going to be likely, and then drivers like Ricciardo and Hamilton pulled out a 1-stop that didn't look like it was going to be the race-winning strategy. Yeah. So I think we're probably going to have something similar in this race where drivers will be able to stretch to a 1-stop just like Kimi did last year. And especially if that C2 is harder, 1 step harder than it was last year, they'll probably be able to make it work, barring any safety cars or anything like that. But I think that Pirelli have kind of gotten it a little bit wrong in the last couple races in terms of where the tire windows are supposed to be.
Well, yeah, like we said in our last podcast, there's so many factors going into tire degradation that it's hard to judge how many laps a tire is going to last or how long it's going to last, and with variables to the car, how we said it last week with the heat coming off the other cars are a little bit closer, right? Have less deg, so yeah.
And it can get a little bit difficult to follow at this circuit, especially when you look at Sector 2 and Sector 3. Yeah. Not a lot of overtaking maneuver, and the cars are very aerodynamically sensitive going through those sectors over there and through the S's. So that'll be a little bit difficult. But strategy always an interesting thing. We'll see if we get more of that Pirelli graphic on the tire wear. I know they weren't happy with it, but I think that the F1 broadcast, they want to show us as much info as we can.
Yeah, for sure. I personally like it, and I don't think it's been too inaccurate.
It certainly helps. It helps to understand. If it's 100% as we're seeing it, then sure. Yeah, we see a lot of those like predicted gaps that are coming out. And it's all this new partnership with the Amazon Web Services bringing all that data. So it's good info for the fans out there. And especially now we're going to be in America. So you're going to get a crowd that's not so familiar with it. So more info, the better, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So getting into our predictions. And we usually get our predictions wrong. And
I'm gonna nail it this time.
You think so?
No.
I like the optimism. But no, seriously, we never really nail it.
And I think Tyler's been right once in all of our podcasts.
Yeah. So I'm not even going to predict the podium necessarily. I'm just going to give you my verdict on who I expect the favorites to be. Spice it up a little bit here.
Okay.
Maybe the viewers out there can let us know your comments for the top 3 in the podium. But I think that Ferrari will be strong here.
For sure. I agree.
And I think that Mercedes will be strong here as well. But I do think that Red Bull is the dark horse.
Yeah.
I really do. That Mexico was an okay weekend for them, and I think that their pace surprised everybody a little bit, and they weren't able to convert the pole position and the race in itself. But I think that they're going to head to the Circuit of Americas with a pretty good feeling, and they've done really well here in the last couple of years with Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Only problem being in those years is that Verstappen has been out of position, coming back from 18th to 4th and then 20th to 5th. So if he can get a good grid position, qualify in the top 3, first or second row, I think he'll have a really good shot at winning this race.
For sure.
So I'm going to put my chips into the Verstappen Red Bull basket.
Okay.
And to say that he's going to win this race. Now, I do believe that Ferrari are going to be the favorites for pole position.
Yeah. Yeah, everything you're saying right now is exactly what I would have said as well.
Perfect. We did not script that, by the way.
Because we were talking about earlier where I was saying this is going to be a Ferrari favorite track. And, it comes down to the actual race. Ferrari really do suffer when, not suffer, they just, they have a little bit of difficulty when it comes to the actual race. And they do really well in qualifying where, Red Bull kind of has the same situation where they'll put in a really good performance in all of qualifying and all of practice, and then when it comes down to the actual race, they won't have it. So I agree. I'm gonna go with Max Verstappen on this one as well. I think after what's after the summer break, he's kind of had a little bit of a difficulty. He's always had that pole position or been close to that pole position, just been taken away from him. So I think this would be a good race. And with the last 3 races of the year, he's got to put in those performances.
Yeah, I think Ferrari will have a better chance if they're not on pole.
Yeah.
It just seems with their luck in the last couple of races. If they get a 1-2, you definitely know they're not going to finish 1-2. Most likely will end up finishing 2-4, 2-3, maybe. But yeah, I hope that Red Bull's pace can be good at this track. And it does suit their car. With the upgraded Honda power that they have, they won't lose as much on the straights in qualifying and in the race as well. So, yeah, I'm hoping for good things from Red Bull this week and from Alex Albon as well.
For sure.
Coming off arguably his best race since coming to Red Bull and Mexico. So it would go well for him again for that 2020 seat.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, no, I have nothing further to add to
All right. I think that pretty much covers everything that I had in my notes and everything that you need to know. There wasn't too much news since Mexico, and that's kind of
Lance Stroll's birthday yesterday. That's about it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, happy belated birthday to Lance Stroll, who turned
21.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
He's getting old.
Yeah.
He's getting to that zone. What did he say? I think he said at the launch that he already had his first gray hair.
Oh, wow.
Said something like that. I can't remember. It's not the best interview, Lance is, but
no.
we were talking about
tries.
that. He tries, yeah. I'm hoping with age he gets a little bit better.
I realized it never really featured him on that Netflix documentary that much either.
No, they had that one episode where they talked about Lance Stroll, or sorry, not Lance Stroll, his dad, Lawrence Stroll, with Williams at Monaco. But no, there wasn't a designation. I mean, I guess with him being at Williams last year, there wasn't too much to talk about.
Yeah, they mostly talked about the team itself, not more of the drivers for them.
Right. And I don't know, I don't think that he was that much of an interesting story, whereas the whole Esteban Ocon situation, right, was more intriguing.
Yeah.
Obviously, Daniel Ricciardo's a great character, so I think that they probably picked and chose the right storylines.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So, well, we'll see what they do for this season, because I think they've got a ton of stuff that they can cover. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping we get more episodes than last year, but I think they've got a positive problem in the fact that they've got a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But they're probably going to have to leave out some good stories here and there.
Yeah, they can probably leave out France.
And Spain.
Yeah.
How about the first 8 races of the year?
Let's just take all of that away. Let's just start from Montreal.
Yes. Yeah, that would be a perfect place to start. And Montreal at lap 45 or whenever it was, right?
That's a good starting point for what would be a good season from that point on.
Yeah, agreed, for sure.
If you just want to talk about Mercedes for the first 8 races, I mean, that's all you're going to get, really.
You could. I don't think they gave access to Netflix, though, until about Germany, so probably not a whole lot of footage there. So, but other than that, there wasn't too many exciting races like there was last year, the first 8 races. So it'll be interesting how they cover that, but they might just skip over a lot of that and head to the big news that was in Montreal and then all the great races after that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But that should about do it for us here in this United States Grand Prix preview. Let us know in the comments below who you thinking are the favorites heading into this week in Austin, Texas. What are some of the favorite things about this track to you if you've ever been to this race? Let us know in the comments below what your experience was like and why fans should attend this track. And before we go, I think we have to send everybody off with the legend of the Circuit of the Americas. I'm hoping you have that. Do you have that clip ready?
No, I don't. I was just going to do it. I thought that's what we were going to do.
Your impression is really good.
This guy, I mean, his is definitely better.
Tell you what, we'll get the original and then you can send us off like you did in the power rankings in the last episode.
Okay, I'm almost there. I'm pretty sure.
I think I retweeted it on our profile page or something. It should be there.
Oh my god! I remember seeing.
There he is.
Last couple of laps, actually, he's pulled himself out of a bit of potential threat from Daniel Ricciardo. Talking of which, the stewards have decided no further action. Daniel Ricciardo and Sebastian Vettel. So, someone's doing some great impressions there at Formula One cars.
By the way, if you guys find the clip of the actual guy recording himself making the meow noises, can you please send it or post it in our comments? Because I really want to see it.
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
That's the clip I was looking to find, and then I couldn't find it, and I gave up.
Yeah.
So,
If you're out there, if you're watching,
yeah, forward us that clip.
yeah, we'll play it on our recap. We'll send it off with that. I was so funny. Every time I see it, it just makes me laugh. I remember seeing the guy's video, and it just wasn't as funny as seeing it there.
Live, yeah.
But I hope he comes back for this race too. Meow guy, you're amazing.
Keep doing what you're doing.
That's right. All right. We appreciate everybody joining us again. We'll be back next week as usual to recap this race. We hope you can enjoy it. It's going to be an excellent sports weekend. We got a ton of great events going on. Mm-hmm. We got the big fights going on in New York for the UFC. Canelo Alvarez is fighting in Vegas. We've obviously got some football, I'm assuming.
Yes,
Premier League action.
I don't know who's playing this weekend. But yes, we do. I don't need to check
yeah.
now.
So you got a lot of options, and of course this race, which should be a really entertaining one. So enjoy it, everybody. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you soon.
And happy Halloween.
Yeah.